What's going on, people? Kevin Duffey from the Random Things podcast. I want to thank you all for those who have been checking out our live streams. We love doing them, and we hope you guys are enjoying them. I want to take time today to talk about two other things we're going to start doing on this channel. The first being random reviews. That is where either myself or someone else from the channel that you've seen on the live streams are going to start doing random reviews of, movies, video games, music, whatever they see in their day-to-day lives that they want to talk about. That's going to be the outlet for that. It's going to be a short form kind of video, maybe 10 minutes. Occasionally you'll have another guest on, but most of the time it'll just be, 1v1. And the other thing we're going to do is random rants. Now that is going to be very similar short form content where same guys that have been on the channel are going to take time out of their day to rant about things that are pissing them off, whether it be something in their day-to-day lives, whether it be something from a movie or a video game. That's going to be the outlet for that. So we hope you guys will check those out. Today, I am kicking it off with a random rant. And the rant today is based on the Rotten Tomatoes score for Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire. Ultimately, what's going on with this movie is 42 critics have reviewed this movie, and it is sitting at 24% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is pretty terrible. And look, I have seen movies before that I have loved, the critics have hated. I have hated movies before that critics have loved. So it's a mixed bag there. It's all subjective. But what's pissing me off today is I am seeing on all these forums that I follow, all these Facebook groups, that people are bitching about the Rotten Tomatoes score, saying that Rotten Tomatoes needs to be taken down because they're not credibly reliable anymore. And it just blows my mind that people have this mindset still, okay? Rotten Tomatoes is an aggregate site. They take critic reviews, bring them together, and then come up with what the tomato meter score is based on how those reviews have fallen. It is not a site that produces their own reviews. Rotten Tomatoes isn't reviewing the movie themselves and giving it the score of 24%. There were 42 critics that saw this movie that are trashing it, okay? 42. And before you go, well, critics can be bought, critics can whatever. Listen, maybe that happens. I don't see any proof of that ever happening, but maybe that happens in the real world. But if critics are being paid off to review a movie, why would the negative scores ever get released like this? Every movie would come out with a positive rating, and it doesn't. So it's just bullshit, utter bullshit. Secondly, if you're claiming that these critics are somehow out to get Zack Snyder, Netflix chose these critics to get the streamer for, the early streamer for this movie. So if they're getting this early streamer of this movie, then Netflix had to have chosen them for the reason that they thought they would enjoy the movie and give an accurate score for it, okay? So these 42 people that have reviewed this movie thus far, these 42 critics, all think this movie is trash. So I don't understand how you could sit there and think that there's some bias this is going on. If these were the 42 people that originally were slated to see this movie, the people Netflix chose, then that's an accurate score for what these 42 people think of this movie. That's not to say you're going to love it or hate it. That is based on you to decide. But that takes me to the other part of this rant that I really got to get out. Somehow, on Rotten Tomatoes right now, it is showing an audience score of 70% for this fucking movie with 500 reviews. 500 reviews of a movie that doesn't come out until next weekend. How is it getting at all an audience score at this point, let alone a positive one, let alone 500 of them? If you people out there that are just up in arms over the Rotten Tomatoes critic score, how are you not up in arms over the fact that 500 people have reviewed this movie that haven't seen it? That is absolute bullshit. It is absolute bullshit. The audience score has always been a toilet thing to critique a movie based on, okay? Everybody feels differently about movies. It's understandable. But you want to know, here's a good example of why audience scores are dog shit, okay? The Transformers movie by Michael Bay are terrible. They are terrible. And I fucking love Transformers, okay? First one was okay. The rest of them are shit. Bumblebee's great. That's it as far as Transformers movies go. But if you look at the audience scores versus the critic scores, the audience scores for those movies are hovering around 50%, meaning half of the millions of people that have seen these movies think that they're good, and they are terrible. They are just terrible movies. So I never take the audience score for worth a damn because people are out there subjectively stupid. So I'm bashing a whole bunch of people for no reason, but that's what this rant is for. Ultimately, it comes down to this. If you're a Snyder fan and you can't wait to see this movie, watch the movie and then review it and tell people why you like it. That's fine. But do not bash critics who have been brought in by Netflix, maybe even by Zack Snyder himself, to review his movie and say that those reviews are bullshit. They are not bullshit. Just because they don't align with the way that you see it does not make it bullshit. However, the 70% it's getting from audiences right now is bullshit. And if you dive into those audience reviews, there are people bashing this movie and there are people praising this movie, and they've never fucking seen it. So both sides of that coin, whether you're trying to fuck Zack Snyder over or lift his ass up, you are full of shit and you need to get a fucking life. End of rant. Peace.